Testimonials, or video testimonials, in my estimation, are one of the most underappreciated or underused or undervalued marketing tools that any business has. In my book, or for my book, Your Patient Attraction Secret Weapon, my client and friend Dan Kennedy wrote that most people don't have a plan for getting testimonials, and they get them at random and they use them randomly. Hi, my name is Ron Sheets, and thank you for joining me, and thank you for investing in my book. If you're a dentist, orthodontist, or anybody in the dental field, then the book will be perfect for you. I originally wrote the book specifically for dentists. However, if you're not a dentist and you're not in the dental field, the book will still be of great value to you, because a testimonial is a testimonial is a testimonial. And it's all applicable, it's all applicable for any business. So if you're not in the dental field, as you read through the book, as you consume the book, open your mind and adapt the techniques and strategies and applications that I show you in the book for your own business. Adapt them for your own business. So I wanted to take a few minutes and spend with you and kind of give you some of the key points that are important, that I think are important, that I found to be important in using testimonials. First of all, let me make a clarification. I use the term testimonial, but as you'll find as you read the book, what I'm really talking about is not testimonials in the traditional fashion, where you ask somebody to give you a testimonial, either in writing, in video, or in audio, and they give you some type of vanilla feedback. Again, these are getting them at random. So for instance, if you were to ask somebody, could I have a testimonial? Would you give me a testimonial? And they would say, sure. Hey, I think that Dr. Jones is really a great person. His staff is wonderful. They did a great job, and I had a great experience. That's what I consider a testimonial. As you go through the book, you'll find that what I describe and teach you to do is actually much deeper than that. They're really more story-based. They're more case study, if you will, for the particular client or patient that you're working with. So I have some notes that I'm going to work off of so that I make sure that I hit all the key points that I wanted to. The first thing to understand about testimonials, and I will use that term interchangeably throughout this just because it's what we're familiar with. So when you think about testimonials, generally we think about getting testimonials in a written form, having somebody write a testimonial for us, and that's great. That's fabulous. If that's what you can get, then by all means that's what you want to go after. However, understand that I believe that video testimonials are the best that you can get, the best that you can obtain from your clients or your patient. And the reason being is that when you obtain them in video, you're obtaining multimedia. What I mean by that is that obviously by recording the video, you're going to have the video of them on camera, and that's going to be the best presentation that you will have from your client, because prospective clients and patients will be able to watch, see, feel, and understand better what your client or patient has experienced by their expression, their authenticity. The other thing is, by getting a video, you also have the ability to use that testimonial in audio form, and this is an audio CD. So you'll be able to use it in audio form, whether it's physically like this or in digital, because you can take and lift the audio, much like my audio for this video. You can lift the audio off the video and use it in just audio form. The other way that you can do it is you can take the audio from your video and you can have it transcribed into print form, so that you now have the print version of it. So by capturing your testimonials on video, you will have at least 3 different mediums by which you can use your client or patient's story and video. You can build a library, and that leads me to what I wanted to talk about next. So this particular group of materials that I have here was from a project that I did for a client, Dr. David Phelps, who is the founder of Freedom Founders. And if you're a dentist, you know them to be a group that is largely about life after dentistry for the dentists. What I did is I had created a member reel of members' stories about their membership and their life path once having chosen to join Freedom Founders. But with that entire video project that I did, I interviewed roughly 12 or 15 of their members. And from that, I was able to create a composite video reel that they use on their website, that they use in DVD form. From it, though, I was able to take and have all of the members' commentary transcribed and put into a booklet. And this booklet contains every word of every interview that I did with the patients or with their members. And as you can see, there's quite a few here. And what I was able to do for Freedom Founders is, aside from create a very powerful client member reel, I was also able to create a resource library for them that they were able to take and they can lift from this booklet. Anytime they're looking to do an advertising piece or a marketing piece, they can go into this library, into this resource library, and they can lift out a testimonial. If they want it in print, I've gone through and I've taken and I've highlighted in the entire library as to the key pieces based on specific content that this particular member would have talked about. But the important thing is that this is a very valuable library, and you can see it's pretty comprehensive. Those are available in print form, those are available in audio form, they're available in video form, so that they can lift a clip and use it in a social media post. They can use it in an advertising piece. So it's important to understand that you're not just capturing a testimonial or a client story for a single purpose. We want to think on a bigger scale. You want to think about being able to capture these stories so that they can be put archived and used long term. All right. Next, the importance in understanding the value that you have in capturing a story versus a testimonial. So, and I'll talk a little bit about the structure of the story in just a moment. Understand that what happens when somebody sees, hears, or reads a existing client's comments or feedback about you, your product, or your service, what happens in the prospective client's mind? Well, what they're looking for, what they're searching for in this social proof is they're looking for validation on you, your product, or your service as to what it will do for them. Because every client that searches for whatever it is that you do, they're looking for a solution. They're looking for the answer to their problem. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things available with the internet, offline, online, and people have made bad choices in the past. And what they don't want to do is they don't want to repeat their bad choices. So they're looking for validation, and they tend to look for social proof for that validation. And that's why the structure and the content within the testimonial itself is important. As you'll read in the book, it's what I refer to the transfer of trust triangle. And that's where the real understanding of the value of the story is that, think of a triangle, and there's 3 points on a triangle. And let's say that you occupy the top point on that triangle. You're the solution in your mind, and you're looking to convince, persuade, or influence your prospective client that you are the solution for them. You've got great marketing material, you've got great advertising, you've attracted them to the point where they have raised their hand, possibly even and expressed interest in you for what you do. However, they're still unsure. They need that hurdle, that obstacle that they've got to get over. And what they'll do is they'll look for social proof. They'll look for reviews, they'll look for testimonials, and they'll look for case studies. When they find it, what happens in this transfer of trust triangle is you're at the top point on the triangle, your existing client or patient is 1 point. And what they do is, by having the properly structured story, testimonial, your prospective client or patient gets to understand who your client is, what their problems are or were, what their story is. And they discover that they have a commonality with your existing patient or client. And it's in this commonality that is extremely important. We have to make connection between your existing client or patient and your prospective client and patient. When we do, and we then prove that you're the solution, what happens in the mind of the prospective patient is the transfer of trust. What they find out is, I'm like your patient, I'm like your client. I share the similarities with your client, either personality or in story or in situation. And because we have this commonly shared problem, or had, and you were the solution for the client, because we're alike, therefore, you can help me. And that's the transfer in trust, is that trust has been built with your existing client, and it's now transferred to your prospective client. And they have a much greater level of trust in the validation and the authenticity of what you tell them you can do, what you tell them you offer, what your product solves, what you solve. They gain a much greater level of trust in you, and that's where the transfer happens. And when that happens, the floodgates can open up, because you've now created a path to trust. And as you know, without trust, a sale, a transaction, or a relationship cannot begin. So that's understanding the transfer of trust. The other thing that is created with the proper use of stories and testimonials is what I call the amplification effect. The amplification effect is taking what you promote, what you tell people about your product or service, and amplifying it through your client's stories. So this is beyond trust now, is that once we've gotten to establish some kind of trust, is that you're authentic, is that we now want to amplify that. And we do that by piling on, or the preponderance of proof, by having not only just one testimonial, but having a number of testimonials, a number of stories that all come to the same conclusion. They all come to the same solution. And that is that what you offer, what you do, does solve that prospective client's problem. So it's the preponderance of proof, or what I call the amplification effect. So once we've established trust, we've reached trust, we then pile on and show proof after proof after proof after proof. This is the amplification effect. So it's not just a matter of having a whole bunch of short testimonials that say the same thing. That doesn't get us to the amplification effect. It is a matter of having impactful, life-changing, if you will, stories that are continually all the same. What happens is, psychologically, in the prospective client's mind, is they reach the point of going, I've tried to poke holes in what you offer. I've tried to pick it apart. I've tried to look at it from, how won't this work? How will I be taken? How will I waste my money on this? They take, and by hearing story after story after story, emotionally and psychologically, they reach the point where they go, this must be real, because there's no holes. It's one after another, after another, after another. It's preponderance of proof, or the amplification effect on what you've promoted as to being real. So that's the amplification effect. The other thing is it gets into a much more deeper psychological level, and that is what I call embedded commands. So psychologists and hypnotists, if you will, have always relied on embedded commands. And if you've been in sales for any length of time, direct sales, you know that a client doesn't do something unless they're convinced that they're making the right choice, that they're spending their money on the right choice. Oftentimes, though, the clients have to be told that they're making the right choice, or they're making the right decision. So these are what I call embedded commands, is that having the proper language consistently throughout testimonials or stories that tell the client, that reassure the client, that affirm to the client that they're making the right financial decision to choose you. So let me give you an example of an embedded command. If I were trying to sell you on choosing one of my programs or one of my products to purchase, I might say, when you do, this is going to be one of the best decisions that you ever make in your life. Now, for me to say that, that's going to have somewhat of a filter or barrier between my saying that and you believing it, because it's perceived that my intention is simply to get money from you, to extract money from you. However, when the clients say that in their stories, in the fashion of, for example, give you an example of in a dentistry, is that for the longest time I was always afraid of dentists. But when I met Dr. Smith, it was like a light switch changed for me. It went on, and I had the best experience of my life. I could not believe. I was no longer afraid to go to the dentist. I didn't fear the dentist. I didn't break out into cold sweats when I was going to the dentist. See, these are all little embedded commands that are within, my friend Dan Kennedy talks about them as dog whistles. They're things that connect, and they embed on the prospective client's subconscious mind. And when they hear those over and over, repetitively, again, it builds on that trust, on that amplification effect with these embedded commands. It reassures people, not outwardly. Now, see, if I say that, it comes with some criticism. It comes with some filter. However, when the clients say that, and they hear it over and over, the prospective client hears that over and over, then it becomes reality. And it starts to break through that barrier, and it gets embedded. Because what happens is they continue to consume your material, research you, review you. These things continue to trigger. They become triggers in the back of their mind that you are the best choice. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a very deep psychological aspect of it. It's one that's often overlooked in the creation of marketing. And a very great way to use embedded commands is through your clients' stories and testimonials. So those are embedded commands. So let's talk about another key point. And this is where people generally have difficulty in getting the right kind of testimonials. And I refer to them in the book as testimonial triggers. Testimonial triggers are a point in time when you recognize that your client is in the best position, the best emotional state to give you a testimonial or their story. It's you listening for a trigger that says to you, hey, this is the time that I need to ask to get a testimonial or a story from the client. And these testimonial triggers are oftentimes when they're expressing their gratitude, their enthusiasm, their appreciation over what they've received. So for example, using a dental example, if a patient comes to the office manager's desk to check out, to reschedule their next appointment, and they make a comment about, you know, I was afraid of coming to the dentist today, but this has been something entirely different. I really want to tell you guys that I appreciate. Well, see, they're now what we call in the glow. They're glowing, they're waxing enthusiasm about what they've just experienced. And this is the best time to be able to ask for a testimonial or their story, because they're enthusiastic about it. Now, oftentimes people will make the mistake of just saying, can I have a testimonial? Well, we all have an idea, even the clients have an idea of what that is. And if you ask a client for a testimonial straight out like that, they will tend to freeze up because we're asking them to perform. We're asking them to, we put them on the spot and say, we want you to say something great about us. And they don't know what to say because they've not thought about it, they've not rehearsed it, they've not prepared for it, but that's okay. They just gave a testimonial trigger which says, hey, I'm happy, I'd be loved to do this. So the key in getting past that is how it is asked. And let me use an example or a story. So some years back, I was doing a documentary for Dr. David Pierce in Baldwinsville, New York, for his dental practice. And as I was filming the client's stories, and I was meeting with clients and filming the documentary, I had a chance to talk with one of his hygienists, Donna, and we talked about testimonials. And she opened up and expressed to me that the doctor had always been wanting testimonials. And she was always uncomfortable with asking her patients to give her a testimonial because she felt it was asking too much of her patients. She felt that she was imposing upon the relationship that she had with them by asking this. To her exact words were, "It just feels icky when I ask them that." What I suggested to her is don't ask for testimonials. Instead, ask for their comments. So she typically would say, "Well, that's great to hear. Would you mind giving me a testimonial about that?" Which met with great resistance. When we changed her language from, "Would you give me a testimonial?" to, "Hey, that's great. We hear that a lot. And I'll tell you what, would you mind if I shared your comments that you just made with others just like you? Would you be okay with that?" Well, what's a person going to say? Because you didn't ask it to give a testimonial. You asked, "Could I share your comments?" which they just gave. Now, they think that's enough, but you go from there. And see, that is a question. That's a way of asking. Instead of using the word testimonial, change it to comments, thoughts, feedback, feelings. Change it to any one of those things, and you'll have a greater connection. You increase the percentages of your client saying yes. Now, from there's other tactical things, which I share in the book, on how to get from that question to actually getting them recorded on video, and those are in the book. But understand that just making a little change in one word, instead of saying, "Would you mind giving me a testimonial?" saying, "Would you mind sharing your comments if I share your comments with others like you?" Now, there's importance in that structure. Would you mind if I share your comments, your feedback, your thoughts, your feelings with others just like you? The just like you is important because that suggests that you're going to be sharing that with friends of theirs, people just like them, which is exactly what we're going to be doing. So that's how we get past that uncomfortable from you asking and the client responding. But that little change in that, just change the wording and you'll change the outcome and the results. The next thing that people will tend to fear is this thing I'm talking to right now, a video camera. Well, fortunately enough today, that isn't as big a problem as it was, say, even 5 or 10 years ago. And that's because everybody has a camera, both a still camera and a video camera on their phone. You see people snapping selfie pictures of themselves, they're recording videos. Society today is much more comfortable being in front of a video or still camera than they ever have been in all of history. So we need to capitalize on that. So getting people past the fear of talking on camera is not about having them just tell you what they just told you. It's a matter of guiding them through it, or what I refer to as the interview process. And I go into much greater depth on this in the book. But getting people to understand that I'm not asking you to perform like a trained monkey in front of the camera. Instead, I want you to talk to me. I want you to share with me what your feelings and experiences have been, and I'm going to capture it on video. So we're making the camera secondary, as opposed to what most people do is stick up a camera and go, "Okay, go ahead and talk." I'm suggesting that we talk to me and the camera captures it. One of the things that I tell people that I interview for clients when I'm capturing these stories, I tell the people that sit down in front of me is say, "Look, I want you to talk to me. You're not going to talk to the camera. You're going to talk to me. And in about 2-3 minutes, you're going to forget the camera's even there and we're going to have a conversation." So there's a lot of things that are happening within that I go into in the book. The key thing is that they're having a conversation with you. It's easier for them to talk to you than it is to talk to this camera. And when they forget about the camera, we're not asking them to perform, we're just asking them to have a conversation. And what ends up happening in this conversation is tremendous authenticity, that their feelings and emotions come out naturally, rather than saying something trite, whatever comes to the top of their mind. And often if you put somebody on the spot and say, talk to the camera, what comes out of their mouth is verbal vomit. It's stuff that just they're spewing out because they're nervous and they don't know what to say. So they just say it. And that's not helpful for you in marketing and promoting your product, your service, or you. You want authenticity. You want their true thoughts and their true feelings. They'll share that with you. They won't necessarily share that with a camera. So that's, again, a little change just in an emotional, psychological thought process, is have them talk to you and not to the camera. And I go into depth in that, and I refer to that as the difference between the stated testimonial and the interview testimonial. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get into a 30 or 60-minute interview with them. This can take no more than 5 minutes, having some key questions to ask that they can respond to. See, your questions and your guidance gets them to what you want said and what you want expressed, which is what you want to turn around and share with your clients and prospective prospects. So that is getting past the camera fear, that performance fear. Next is what I refer to as the crafting of the message. So you'll see on the back of the book Dan Kennedy's comments about the fact that most people get testimonials at random and they use them randomly. And this is more true than anything else that I have found in my experience of working with clients and crafting their testimonial story messages. The mistake that most people make is they take what they get and they use what they get, rather than having a strategic plan for going after what you need to have in social proof. What are the objections? What are the obstacles that you find that potential buyers have with making that financial decision? What are those obstacles? What are the things that hold them back? They're the same things that held your clients back, but for whatever reason, your client was able to get past that. So if we can extract that, if we can learn that from your existing clients, what was it that held them back? That were the final hot buttons that got them past the financial decision. If we can understand that and we can capture that, we can then take and share that with other prospective clients. And if they share those same obstacles and hot buttons, if you will, then we can get them past that as well. And this comes into really crafting the message, both crafting it before you ask for a testimonial or story, but also crafting it after you have gotten it, you had it recorded on paper, you've recorded it on video. It's a matter of crafting. So the mistake that most people make is that they take what they get and they use what they got. So they may get somebody give them a written testimonial. They take that testimonial as is and they plant it on a marketing piece. They plant it in an advertising piece. The mistake is, what does it say? Who are you reaching? Who are you trying to speak to? For example, when you're writing, the best way to attract a client is to speak to them, to speak specifically to them. Again, using a dental example, let's suggest that I'm an orthodontist and I want to attract people who are interested in braces for my children, Invisalign, or something along that line that's a matter of realigning teeth. Well, I'm not going to try to attract that person by talking about cleanings and exams. I'm going to talk to those people, I'm going to attract those people by talking about straight teeth. The same thing goes with the stories and testimonials. If you have a testimonial that says, Dr. Smith is a great doctor, that's pretty general, that's pretty routine, that can be used and applied anywhere. However, if you have a client who says, I tried 7 different other things in order to straighten out this particular snaggletooth that I had, and these other places weren't able to do that effectively, they weren't able to do that for me. However, Dr. Smith, through his whiz-bang process, was able to do that. See, I've now done a couple of things. I've talked to somebody who's specifically looking for tooth alignment, in that particular case, a snaggle tooth, or kind of that that little twisted one tooth that's out of place. I'm now speaking directly to a specific audience. And my testimonial or my story is speaking directly to them. So to read a testimonial, Dr. Smith is a great doctor and he fixed my teeth. Yeah, that has what I call the so what factor. Well, that's nice, but so what? However, you catch my attention if I say, Dr. Smith was able to fix this particular thing. Now you've got my attention. Now I'm going to listen more intently. I'm going to be pulled in by that. So it's a matter of crafting what is the message that you need and going out and getting it. And that's the process of having a system for getting the testimonials you need, which I share in the book on how to do that. It's also a matter of taking what you have gotten, looking for the nuggets, and then applying them strategically in the marketing and advertising specifically. A specific case in point is the use I see of testimonials on websites. Oftentimes a website will have a testimonial page where they intend prospective clients to go to that page and review their testimonials. Okay? It's like handing them this book of testimonials and saying, here, read this, devour this. One of the most least frequently visited pages on a website is a testimonial page. Why? What are you going to find when you go to a testimonial page? You're going to find great testimonials. How are they authentic? I don't know. See, there's a filter, there's a barrier that's created by that. So people don't even go because they pretty much know what they're going to see. Now, they'll go and read reviews. They'll read reviews on third-party sites and they believe those to be more valuable, to be more authentic. Why? Third-party site. So how can we use that for our benefit on our website? Well, that's the strategic use of testimonials placed within and throughout the website. So if you have again, dental example, if you have a patient who has gone through braces, traditional braces with you, put that story and embed that story inside of the braces webpage. Make it as part of the sales copy. Make it as part of the sales presentation on the website. Don't just stick it off in a box over on the side expecting that somebody's going to go over there and read that and consume it. No, no, no. Make it part of the actual sales copy. Force them to read it, to consume it, and apply it strategically within the sales copy. So if you're reading through it, or your client's reading through it, and they have this doubt, that's where the testimonial comes in. That's where the story comes in, to bring them back to trust, to bring them back to and that's an embedded command, is that when we had doubt, we got past that doubt, and now this is the solution. See, this is very psychological, more so than it is mechanical. So that really is the crafting of the messages. There are three components to understand about the message, of what you're getting, what you're capturing. The first is context. What is the context that your prospective client is trying to understand? What is the context that your existing client had already been through? What were the challenges and obstacles that they had? Oftentimes, testimonials and stories don't contain that. Dr. Smith was a great doctor. Well, how do I know? You feel that Dr. Smith is a great doctor, but see, I haven't had the same experience with Dr. Smith that you have. What is the context through which you came to know of Dr. Smith? What is the context through which you had the experience with Dr. Smith? How did you get from point A to point B? We oftentimes in testimonials hear just about point B. We don't hear about point A, the context. It's in the context where we establish that transfer of trust triangle. That's where we establish connection between our existing client and our prospective client. So don't overlook the context. Context is important. Where has somebody been in order to start this path to get to where they have gotten that you want the prospective client to get? Hopefully that makes sense. But context is one component of the actual story. The next component is content, is the content. What is the process? What are the things that they went through in order to achieve that result? Content. That's the meat and potatoes, if you will. The last part is the impact or the solution. What impact did it have on your existing client in order to make this decision to go with you, to buy your product, to buy your service, to contract you, to engage you? What result did they get? What was the impact on their life, the solution, the outcome, the benefit? And that is projected onto your prospective client, is that they will receive the same outcome, benefit, result if they take the same path that the existing client did. Does that make sense? So it's a matter of context, content, and impact. So the other way to look at it is problem, agitate, solution, if you overlay that onto a basic marketing principle. But context, content, and impact. Problem, agitate, solution. In my book, for your reference, I refer to it as problem, agitate, turning point, solution. All right? But the three main components, if you get nothing else, is context, content, and impact. Problem, agitate, and solution. So let's now to bring this thing home and kind of wrap this thing up and give you some insight on application. So again, going back to Dan's term, people get testimonials at random and they use them randomly. So once you have testimonials, once you have these stories, once you have them captured, what do you do with them? How do you apply them? Where do you apply them? The easiest and most immediate is a website. If you're doing online marketing, online attraction, online lead generation, is to use it on a website. That's where you want to put it. So I talked a little bit about that as far as the crafting of the message. On your website, you want to use them strategically. You don't want to just place them at random, some page you expect somebody to go and search and find them. Instead, you want to put them on a page that they're already at, searching for a solution, and the testimonial and the story is there to provide social proof, to provide validation, to provide authentication to your sales point. So that's one point. The other place that you can use them is in print media or direct mail. Same thing as on the website. If you're doing print media, so for example, here is an example of a patient information guide that I create for dentists that is really a sales letter disguised as a patient guide. But inside of here, there are patient stories. There are the actual case studies of patients within it. So using them again strategically in your print or your direct mail advertising to provide social proof. If you provide it to them, it prevents them from having to go look for it. Because if they believe your marketing message to be true and they're searching for validation, don't make them go search. Give it to them right in front of them. If you're doing a direct mail piece, it's much easier to use longer case studies, as I have in here, is that you can provide multiple sheets. The other way that you can do that is that you can take these testimonials, if you have them in video, you can create TV, you can create radio advertising, TV advertising, or where I delve in some areas is doing some movie theater cinema advertising, which is basically television advertising on the big screen in a movie theater to a very captured audience. But you can create full testimonial commercials that are all your clients saying wonderful, fabulous things about the benefits of having chosen you or your product or your service. So when you have these resources, it's not about having to create marketing or create advertising. You have them at your fingertips. When you have them, you can go and use them. That's why I call this a resource library. And when you have a plan and you have a strategy for capturing the right kind, you can go into this and you can have endless amounts of advertising and marketing that is very valuable to you. The other and the last, if you don't do any of the harder stuff, and I refer to the harder stuff of doing print, direct mail, radio, TV, or cinema. See, that's hard for a lot of people because it takes time, it costs money. Websites are easy because you can put them there and they don't seem to cost any money or take any real time. The other way, if you do nothing else, put it on your website and use it as a referral tool. What I mean by a referral tool is by being able to have a DVD or DVDs of your clients' stories on a DVD. And what you can do is, rather than asking existing clients or patients to do a lot of heavy lifting for you and to tell them their stories, which they don't know how to do, but you've gotten it crafted properly, is simply getting your clients to agree to pass this stuff out. And here's how I've done it, how I teach clients to do it. So, in a dental example again, if I've got a patient in and a patient has said something about this, and I say, well, you know, I know it doesn't come up in conversation a lot, but occasionally it comes up. We have patients who tell us that they will leave work and they'll tell a coworker, hey, I'll be back, I'm going to the dentist. And then the coworker will say, oh, well, what dentist do you go to? Because I need to find a dentist. My dentist isn't all that good. I'm curious, who do you go to? Well, now a conversation would normally ensue. However, person's running out the door. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to say, oh, my dentist is fabulous. That's what most people tell their friends. Go to my dentist. He or she is fantastic. Doesn't really get us past all the things that we've talked about for the last half hour. However, if your patient is armed with a tool that says, well, my dentist is wonderful here. Here's a DVD, here's a CD, here's a book, here's a guide that talks about, it tells the story of why my doctor is wonderful. In fact, I'm on this DVD, and you'll understand why he or she is the dentist that I trust with my mouth. See, all we have to do is teach them that little thing, and then we give them a powerful tool to be able to share. And this tool does all the heavy lifting for us. Why? Because this is a well-crafted, well-engineered sales message to establish trust, to build authenticity, and to lead them to where we want them to go. And that is to do business with us and nobody else. It's to make them stop searching. The key thing is that by doing this, you're doing something that nobody else will do because it takes too much effort. But you've already expressed the interest to take it to that next step by simply getting my book. That expresses the idea to me that you have been thinking about this and that this has value and importance to you, that you want to take this to the next level. So that's an area where you can apply your testimonials and your stories immediately. Website, referrals. If you do nothing else, use it in those two areas strategically, and you will be head and shoulders above everybody else. Okay? So those are some of the key salient points that I want you to make sure that you take away as you go through and you read my book, and then take and look in there as to how to apply them. And I give specific case studies and examples in the book. Again, in a dental example, though you're a smart person, you can extract it and adapt it for your own business if you're not in the dental field. So I appreciate you spending the time that you have with me over the last few minutes. I appreciate you investing in my book. I am sure that you're going to have questions as you go through the book, as you go back through and review this video. You're going to have some questions. If you do have some questions, I want to give you a resource, a free resource where you can reach out to me with your questions. If you have a question, simply go to www.askronsheets.com. That's www.askronsheetz.com. Go there, you'll be able to type in a question and submit it to me. I get all the questions, I review all the questions that come through that site, and I answer all the questions within 48 hours. So if you have a question, go to www.askronsheets. Don't hesitate to pose your question or questions, and I will follow up with you. If your needs are much more immediate, you can reach me at 440-606-6244. And that number's on the screen. And you can if you reach my voicemail, which you're likely to do, leave me a detailed message with your follow-up information, how to get back in touch with you, and I'll get back to you within 48 hours. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I wish you the best of success in using your testimonials, going after and capturing those powerful social proof that will change your marketing for the better. Thank you very much.